Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Wealth Show. Right now, I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Attorney Jennifer Robinson. She's with Sachs Robinson and Rittenberg. So right now, we're going to be talking about, I see a lot of things are going on right now in the streets of Chicago as far as a lot of personal injury. We have a lot of workman's comp issues. So I was like, hey, let's address it. So I brought Jennifer here today so we can address some of these questions I keep hearing over and over and over again. So right now we did some questions. We kind of already had them set already. I sent them to her. So Jennifer, I know you have a few questions that I sent to you. So I guess let's get started. Oh, introduce yourself first.
Hi, my name is Jenny Robinson. I'm a personal injury workers' comp attorney. I've been an attorney since 2003. I represent hundreds of clients over the years, and I love helping people, and that's what I do. So when you're injured, it's really important, whether it's personal injury or workers' comp, that you document your injury. So a lot of times people get injured at work, and they're really loyal employees, and they think that these big corporations are loyal employers. Mm-hmm. Some small mom and pop stores are, but most corporations, they're looking at the bottom line. They're looking at their shareholders. They want to make money. They really, it's not that they don't care about their employees, but employees are expendable. So an employee has to protect themselves. The company, they have attorneys, insurance companies, they're protecting themselves. So when someone's injured at work, they have to document their injury. They have to right away let their employer know. After you get injured, you also have to make sure when you document your injury that you do so by going to a doctor right away and documenting your injury. I always say when you go to the doctor, you start from your head down. Why do you do that? Well, you don't injure every part of your body. Okay. But, maybe your arm's killing you, but you also hurt your neck and back. And when your arm's killing you, you might not be thinking about your neck and back. It's important that you document everything, because whether it's a personal injury claim or a workers' comp claim, you have to prove your case. So start from your head down, and that will allow you to make sure to document your injury appropriately. Now, with workers' comp, personal injury too, it's always important to get an attorney involved right away. Like I said, employers, they have their insurance companies and their attorneys. Okay. And personal injury, even if you're hit by another car, you're generally what you're doing is trying to get the other person's insurance policy, or if they have no insurance, which we can talk about later, okay. You're getting your own insurance coverage. So
now I have one question though.
Yes.
Can we switch? I know we're doing, we were talking about workman's comp and personal injury. Mm-hmm. Can I go back to workman's comp for a moment?
We can. Can I finish this one?
Okay, go ahead.
But with workers' comp and personal injury, it's really, really important that you reach out and get your attorney right away. The sooner people call me, the much better job I can do protecting them. And with workers' comp also, they changed the statute in 2011, and that's really boring. But it's really important that you protect your rights and your rights to medical. And if you don't do it correctly, you could be on the line for paying bills, even with a compensable injury.
What does compensable mean?
Okay, so in workers' comp, using the legal jargon, an injury has to arise out of and in the course of employment. Okay. So workers' comp is no fault. With personal injury, someone's got to be at fault for you to recover. Okay. And you have to be less than, they have to be more at fault than you. With workers' comp, it was a compromise between the legislature and the workers. So, while it's not the best system in the world, actually, Illinois is a lot better than some states. But your employer doesn't have to have any fault at all. When something happens accidentally, as long as it takes place in the course of and arising out of, so they look at time, place, manner. They look at all sorts of facts, but most injuries on the job like, if you're working in a restaurant and you're in the kitchen and there's gravy on the floor and you slip and fall on that, that's compensable. Now, every injury is different. So again, as soon as you're, after you've gone to, you go to the emergency room first, but then, you'd give me a call and you tell me what happened, and we'd make sure to do what we needed to do to protect your rights. We'd also stop you from talking to the adjusters and giving recorded statements from workers' comp, because like they say with the police, anything you say can and will be used against you. And it's not that you're changing your story, but sometimes, people don't say things exactly the same way.
Okay.
And people don't lie, but when, if you end up going to a trial, or even when they're deciding whether or not your injury should be compensable, when they get these recorded statements and what you say on one is not what you say on the other, it can be harmful because, it's not the same thing. And what attorneys do, we try to shape facts in the way that's best for our clients.
Okay.
So.
All right. So I kind of forgot the question, but I'm gonna kind of go back. So you're saying if you were injured at work, first thing you would do is always medical attention first.
Oh, yeah. So it depends how hurt you are. Like if if nobody's there and you like twist your ankle or something, you would go and you'd report it to your supervisor and say, I need medical attention. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then after that, let the supervisor know.
Right.
And go get medical attention.
Oftentimes employers will require you to fill out an accident report. You always, when you fill out the accident report, they won't give you a copy. But everyone's got cell phones. It's best to take a picture of what you fill out in the accident report, so and and if you need medical, you shouldn't say, and I have lots of clients who say, I waited. I didn't want to be a complainer. I thought it would go away. Well, depending how long you wait, it can be used against you.
How long could be considered too long to wait?
It depends on the situation. The sooner you go, the better, and the easier chance you have of documenting your injury, because things happen.
Now, if I got injured at work, but I said, well, it kind of went away a little bit. Then maybe a few weeks later, it started to act up again. Am I able then to actually go and actually call you, go to the doctor and do everything? How many weeks or months?
Months. Every case is different. I would talk to you. If it's a couple weeks, I would definitely, try to get that ball rolling. Months. Every case is different. It depends on the documentation. I'd really have to be fact specific, but you're hearing from me now. Don't wait. If it's minor, great. That's awesome. You and your employer should have the same desire that you get well to the fullest extent possible as soon as possible. Workers' comp isn't supposed to keep you out of work for, so you're not working forever. It's supposed to keep you out of work until you're healed to the fullest amount possible. And my job is to help make sure that you get the medical care you need to help you get healed as full as possible. And when someone doesn't get healed to the fullest possible, no amount of money it's just not worth it. So also when you delay treatment, it delays your outcome. It's not a good thing. So you've got to document it. You've got to get the medical attention. And also when you call me and you retain me, that prevents adjusters from calling you and talking to you. I have medical authorization, which protects the rights, because a lot of employers have employees sign medical authorizations, and on the authorizations, you don't know because you're hurt, you're injured, you're not even reading this thing, and you're probably not an attorney. It gives them permission to talk to the doctors, a lot of medical authorizations, and you don't want an employer talking to your doctor, dictating your treatment. They can decide they're going to pay or they're going to not, and they can fight a case and defend a case, but the doctor should be doing what's best for you, what's best for healing you.
Okay.
And you don't want them thinking how to nickel and dime it so that it's cheaper treatment. You want to get treatment to make you as well as possible. And again, if the employer thought about it, the better the treatment, the sooner the person would be back to work, and hopefully the less injured they'd be.
Now, question: when you mentioned the payments, how long does it take if somebody was injured? How long would it take for them to receive their payments once they're off injured?
Okay, so I think what you're talking about is TTD. It stands for Temporary Total Disability Benefits.
Okay.
So it really depends. So if you, let's say you work at the airport.
Okay.
And your job is to load luggage onto a plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a whole bunch of your coworkers see that, the luggage somehow fall off and smack you in the face and you fall down and off and you're really injured.
Okay.
That's not a case they're probably going to investigate. But sometimes, if there are no witnesses, which oftentimes there aren't witnesses, it might take a while because they're going to investigate it, which they have the right to do it. They can't be unreasonable and vexatious.
What do you mean by unreasonable?
They can't deny benefits because they don't like you. They can't. And by the way, they cannot fire you because you filed a workers' compensation claim and you're asserting your rights. They can fire you for other reasons that they can fire anyone else for, but it's against the law to discriminate against you for filing a workers' comp claim. So
they
don't let that
retaliate against you.
That is absolutely 100% against the law.
Okay. And how long would you receive these benefits?
Okay, so TTD benefits. This is when the doctor, and you can't just say, oh, I'm hurt, I don't want to go to work. No, this is another reason why it's important to go to the doctor as soon as possible.
Okay.
Now, when you go to the doctor is either going to say you can't work at all, or you can do some type of limited duty. And, the doctor, a good doctor is going to do what they think is best to make you 100% healed.
Okay.
And so if a doctor says you can't work, well, automatically the employer has to pay TTD, which, by the way, is 2/3 of your average weekly wage. And, those calculations, everyone's a little bit different how you calculate it. But for most people, it's basically like getting your paycheck without taxes. Though when you work overtime and stuff, there are factors that come in that decide whether or not that's included. And also there are caps and minimums when you talk about TTD. But anyways, so if they're not investigating it and the doctor takes you off work, you'll probably get that first check within 2 to 4 weeks after you're injured.
Okay.
Now, if the doctor puts you on light duty or, just no walking for, an hour or whatever,
right,
your employer would have to decide whether or not they can accommodate you.
Okay.
If they can accommodate you, you can't say, well, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that.
Right.
You've got to do it unless they've created some kind of sham job. Like, let's say you work in a factory and, they decide to stick you in the bathroom that nobody ever goes to sit there and watch it for 8 hours and do nothing. Obviously, probably that's a sham job that you don't have to do. But if they're giving you a real job, like sitting in the office, answering phones, stapling, whatever, you might not enjoy it. Mm-hmm. You might not like that they changed their hours, but they can do that. But if they say, you know what, we can't accommodate you, it's just like the doctor took you off work.
Okay. They
got to pay that TTD.
Okay. Now, question. I received this question from someone.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we have COVID going on.
Mm-hmm.
And at most jobs, I think they pay for 2 weeks because they say normally people are out for 2 weeks, up to 14 days or whatever. Can you actually collect disability for COVID if you were off longer than those 2 weeks?
Okay. So you're talking about the Family Medical Leave Extension under the CARES Act, which gives you those 2 weeks. Now, workers' compensation, when this COVID came out, basically they changed the law. The legislature, and remember, workers' compensation is a creation of the legislature. They made it so that there's a presumption, not under the Workers' Compensation Act, but the Occupational Disease Act, that for certain types of workers, frontline workers, and first responders, that there'd be a presumption that there's workers' compensation, though this presumption is rebuttable. So people who work in nursing homes, home care workers, correctional officers, people, when the governor said that these were essential workers, those people, if they're required to be with the public, and there's all sorts of stuff, and it's nuanced, so there's exceptions and whatnot, and if you're working at home, home for 14 consecutive days before it or something like that, there are reasons you'd be in or not in. So if somebody did have COVID and they missed work, please give me a call and I'd be happy to go through your scenarios and see, because it's different. It varies. But there's a presumption that can be rebutted. So just because they made the presumption doesn't mean you're going to get compensation. There are reasons, like if the employer can show, hey, we did everything we were required to do that the government set out for us to do, we took precautions that we needed, or they could show you got it somewhere else. Yeah, Lisa got COVID, but guess what? Her husband and family had it 2 weeks before she had it. I mean, there are presumptions. Even if they got it like a week or a couple days before, they're going to be fighting it. So, and when you do with workers' comp and COVID, even though it's the Occupational Disease Act, you got to be very careful, because your rights under medical, you want to make sure that
what if we're not able to get a Family Medical Leave Act?
I don't do federal, but Family Medical Leave Act, not my thing. But if it didn't apply to you for some reason, then, and it is a compensable injury, you get TTD right away. But you need to, there are different dates about when a doctor just has to diagnose it and when you needed actual test results.
Okay.
But, everybody's case is different. And also you need to get certified and or recertified by your doctor that you're off because of COVID. So there's a bunch of things you have to jump through and do. And it's, not the kind of thing that someone should do on their own. It's always best to get an attorney, because your employer, the insurance company, they have tons of attorneys working for them.
Okay. I know I don't have my notes in front of me. I have some of my questions, so I don't have my notes. I'm kind of going off the top of my head.
No
Those
problem.
were the biggest ones. How much do you actually get of your salary? You did state.
Okay. So
when you're off.
So it's not dealing with the caps and the minimums, but normally, and let's say you only have one job and you don't work overtime, because that's easy to talk about. You'd get 2/3 of your average weekly wage. So basically, you'd take home what you'd be taking home after taxes were taken off. And guess what? Workers' comp, luckily, isn't taxable. So that's a good thing. With overtime and stuff, that's all very specific. You have to see if it was mandated or regular. If you worked a second job, did they know about it? What type of job? Were you independent contractor, or did you really have another job they knew about? Because those kind of calculations get taken into effect too. And actually that can really make a huge difference in how much you get for TTD and PPD, which is permanent partial disability, at the end of your case.
Okay. So when it's time to do the tax, what if you were out for a year or maybe 6 months? When it's time to do your taxes, how do they kind of see how much you're going to get back if workman's comp isn't taxable?
If you didn't make anything, I think though, didn't they? I think you still file, because can't you still? I'm not a tax attorney. You should talk to your accountant. But yeah, your workers' comp wouldn't be factored in. So if you made no income that year, I talked to tax accountant to figure out to see if you'd still qualify for some kind of benefits from that. And I know, like, they just changed the law for getting money for your kids, and that, you can get the credit, I believe, again, not my era, even if you didn't pay taxes, I believe, if I'm correct. But talk to a tax attorney and make sure that you're not missing out on stuff you should be missing out on.
Okay.
You shouldn't be missing out on.
Now, right now, what if they stated you could not go back to your job because they have no maybe light duty or nowhere to place you? If you went off and got another job.
Are you talking about you finished your treatment?
No, your entry, like you're accepting workman's comp from your job.
So if you get another job, they would get the benefit of that money you make. You can't just start working somewhere else and collecting your full benefits. That doesn't work. No.
Okay.
The Workers' Compensation Act is to try to make an employee as whole as possible, not to create a windfall for that employee at the expense of the employer.
Now, people hurt different body parts. I've heard this before. Does it depend on which body part you hurt as to how much of a settlement you will receive?
Absolutely. So different body parts, it's weird, but they assign different body parts percentages of the body, like person as a whole, which used to be called man as a whole.
Okay.
And I was an attorney since 2003. Sometimes I flip to man as a whole, even though obviously I'm not sexist. I think women are equal.
I don't believe you are.
No, but I'm used to the jargon, and it doesn't offend me.
How much for a head?
It depends. But man as a whole, 500 weeks is a total you can get, but it's just divided up. You can injure your back, your neck, your head, your shoulder, which is part of man as a whole, as many times you want, and it's not cumulative. But different body parts, like your fingers, which are not worth that much, your arms, your legs, each time you injure them and you settle a case or you have a trial, it gets noticed. So let's say you injured your knee, you got a meniscus tear, you had it operated, you had another operation. Let's just say you got 20% of a leg, right?
Okay.
So then let's say 2 years later, you re-injure it. Now, because you re-injured it, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get more money, that you aren't entitled to benefits. But at the end of the day, the arbitrator and your attorney and the other attorney are going to look at what you settled before, because they're going to get a credit for that 20% of a leg. And you can never have more than 100% of a leg, where man as a whole, are now called person as a whole. There could be 1,000% person as a whole. It's not cumulative.
So to give me an example, so let's just say that I hurt my arm and I went off and we settled everything, so-called healed, and we settled for maybe $10,000 for my arm.
Okay.
If I turn around and re-injure my arm 2 years later, they're going to look at the fact
they're not going to look at the fact that you got 10,000. They're going to look at the percentage of the arm. Everyone, so PPD, permanent partial disability, is 60% of your average weekly wage, but there is a bottom cap and a top cap. There's a ceiling and a floor, right?
Okay, what's the ceiling for an arm?
No, it's the ceiling for the PPD rate. It changes every year. So, they look at, and the bottom changes too, of the lowest. Now, you can't have a TTD or PPD rate higher than what you made.
Okay.
But if, your average weekly wage is, if you took out 2/3 and it's under that rate, then you're going to get bumped up to that rate, or at least up to it as much as what your average weekly wage is.
Okay.
If it's over, if you're at the max, it's just capped.
Over there. Okay.
Right. But it doesn't matter that you made 10,000. It matters what that equaled, because you could have someone who makes $500 a week and someone who makes $1,000 a week and someone who makes $2,000 a week. That $10,000, when you talk about the arm, is a different percentage, because the money adds up, because the money, like I said, man as a whole is 5 weeks. So 5 times 10, 5, if you're 10% of a man, it'd be 50 weeks. So with the arm, you look at the percentage of the arm, not the amount of money received, because for everyone that's different. It's just treating you as an occupational injury. And some people think it's unfair that someone who makes less money gets a lower award. It was a compromise in the legislature, and they're just compensating you for work injury based on what you made.
Okay. So everybody is different.
Everybody's different.
We can go in there with the same exact injury, but
same injury, same treatment, same outcome. If you're not the same salary, unless you're caps and everything. And generally, when I settle cases, I look at what different similar cases got at trial, and when you're looking at that, you're not looking at the dollar amount, you're looking at the percentage of the body part or whatnot.
Okay. Now, let's just say you're off injured and your job calls, maybe human resources call. Am I allowed should I take the call, or should I hang up and say, hey, I've retained an attorney?
So with HR, sometimes you got to talk to them, but if it's an insurance adjuster, nurse case manager, then you should not take the call, let them leave a message and have your attorney call them back.
Can I just tell them I have an attorney? Please don't call me.
And give the name. You can.
Okay.
But sometimes when people take calls, chatty chat.
They seem to get information out.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. It's like with nurse case managers for my clients. Now, some attorneys don't like nurse case managers at all.
Okay.
But sometimes I think nurse case managers really help. Some hinder, and I fire the ones who I think are harming my clients. But again, remember, the goal of workers' comp is to get the worker treated to the full extent possible, as soon as possible, but without compromising the treatment. And a nurse case manager can sometimes push on an employer to get the treatment authorized. And so I don't let nurse case managers talk to my client, though, or their doctor, unless the client and the doctor and them are all in the same room. Why? Because, we could be walking down the street and I might have had the worst day in the world, have a horrible headache. And you can say, hey, Jenny, how you doing? And I can look at you. I don't want to talk. I don't want to tell you this. I feel horrid, but I could say, good. You too? I mean, people say it all the time. And, if you tell a nurse case manager or an adjuster or an employer, be careful that you're feeling fine. Guess what? That's going to be used against you. They don't have to prove their case. You have to prove your case. But, with the COVID, again, there's that rebuttable presumption. So depending on the facts of your case, they might actually have to rebut the presumption. But again, every case is different. So.
Okay. I see. I'm going to go one last COVID question. If I was injured at work where I knew where COVID came from and it did mess me up where I was on a ventilator and now I go back to work and I can't breathe.
So the doctor, you would have to, again, you need to keep the medical in chain. But again, please, if you're injured, call me right away because it truly is important with workers' comp that you stay in the chain of referrals, and people don't understand this and harm themselves. But you'd go back to your doctor.
Okay.
And you would have the doctor, the doctor will give you the opinion. If he thinks you can't work because of COVID, he's going to give an off work note. And if you have a compensable COVID case, they're going to have to pay it. These COVID cases, though, are a new thing, so nobody really knows exactly
how to handle it.
Yep. But I've already obtained thousands and thousands of dollars of TTD for my clients. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Can you tell us even how to contact you?
Oh, yes.
Can you give them a number?
So actually, I work at Sachs, Robinson, and Rinberg, but I am strange in that I love helping my clients and I talk to them 7 days a week. So as long as they don't mind hearing children or animals in the background, they're welcome to call me between like 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. And actually, the easiest way to contact me is my cell phone number.
Okay.
773-501-7232. Again, that's 773-501-7232.
Okay. Now, right now, did you have any more workman's comp advice? Because we're going to now switch over to personal injury. Did you have any other workman's comp?
Tons of workers' comp advice. But again, if somebody's injured, please just give me a call and I'd be happy to talk to you and figure out your situation, because truly everyone's case is different. And, when you look at the statute or you hear about rights, how it affects and impacts you depends on all sorts of factors. So,
okay. So it sounds like if you're injured, first thing you do is contact your supervisor, let them know in a timely manner. Second thing would go to the doctor immediately.
Unless you need to go to the doctor first, like it's an emergency, right? But then your employer should see if you're at work that year. But
okay.
Yes.
And then after that, if it seems like it's something really wrong, then we would contact an attorney.
Nope. Even if you don't think it's, because I have people who contact me weeks later and said, oh, I didn't think it would be a problem. It costs you nothing to call me.
Okay. Oh, so you actually take a case. You don't have to pay you until when the case is done?
So attorney's fees and workers' comp case, they too are set by statute. Most things with workers' comp are statutory. The legislature decided. And part of it is that our fees are capped at 20%, but also that we don't get paid until you get paid. So if the employer is not giving you TTD, we don't get paid until we get you the TTD you're not being paid. And then we don't get paid until you get some kind of settlement or award. We get basically money when you get money for the most part. So it doesn't harm you to call, and really you shouldn't call an attorney immediately just to protect your rights, because again, the employer's watching out for themselves, and nobody's going to protect your rights unless you get the attorney to do it.
Now, you also mentioned that your job has attorneys. What if I said, well, I don't want to irritate anybody, have retaliation against me, I'm just going to let them? What would they do if you hurt yourself? Don't they?
Oh, you mean how corporations hire insurance companies? And
they will call and try to settle with me?
So there are pro se settlements. Sometimes, actually, a lot of times when people don't file workers' compensation claims, people for some reason think that if they get medical benefits and they heal up, at the end of the day, they're going to get nothing else. And, if they let the time limit expire and the case end before they file a workers' compensation claim, which, again, with every case it's different, but generally is 3 years from the date of injury for workers' comp.
Okay.
But again, please call me right away. You don't want to harm your rights.
Okay.
But, sometimes you might get zero without the attorney.
Okay. Now, you said make sure you have everything together. What do you mean? Like take pictures of the injury, take pictures of the incident? What do you?
If you can, I mean, generally when you're hurt, but yeah. So when I see someone, I ask them for those accident reports. So remember, when you fill it out, take a picture of it. If you have, a coworker fills out a witness report, and see if they'll give you a copy of what they filled out. If you're in the office and you see the supervisor's report, ask if you can take a picture of it.
Okay.
I mean, this is all evidence the employer's going to have that you're going to want too. Okay. I mean, I've had clients go back and take photos of the scenes of the accident. Their coworkers that sometimes, even if you don't use them for a hearing, sometimes, those photos help in a pretrial or in settlement conferences just to get the case settled.
Is most cases just actually done in pretrial where you don't even have to go to court?
Most cases settle. So don't be nervous and say, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm going to go to trial. I don't want to go to trial.
Right. Most
cases never go to trial. And actually, right in the attorney-client contract, it's up to a petitioner, if he wants to take a settlement or not.
Who's the petitioner? So, that would be the
That's
person.
An injured worker.
Okay.
So, I'm going to advise someone what I think is in their best interest. But if they don't want to go to trial, an attorney cannot force an injured worker to go to trial. The attorney will work to settle their case. And I mean, we always try to settle because, as in everything in life, law is like a huge gamble. If you go to trial, you might win or you might lose. And then after the hearing at the commission, either side can file a review. Mm-hmm. And then after that, though, it's harder for reasons that will bore everyone. But then you could appeal it up to the courts, and it could take a really long time. So, yeah, most things do not go to hearing.
Well, I heard they follow you when you're out on workman's comp. Is that true, or is that just a myth?
That can, depending on the employer, that can be very true. Some employers hire private investigators to follow and videotape you. Now, when that doctor gives you work restrictions, remember the doctors, as long as you get a good doctor, he's working on your behalf. He's doing what he thinks he needs to and telling you not to do X, Y, and Z. So if you're not allowed to lift 5 pounds and you're carrying your grandchild to and from, your car to the house and throughout the grocery, obviously you're not doing what you should do. But you've got to always be cognizant of the fact that you could be followed and recorded. So always be very careful, but always, please, you want to get better too. Follow your doctor's orders.
Okay. All right. So right now that's kind of wrapping up our workman's comp.
Sure.
Okay, let's drive on into personal injury. One of the biggest questions on personal injury was, right now during these times, if someone hits you from the back, do you get out the car?
Oh, if you're rear-ended?
Yes.
So, if you're in a car accident, first of all, if your car is drivable, you always need to pull off to the side of the road. You can't just leave cars that are operating in the middle of the road,
Okay.
because you can cause other accidents. Our office, yeah, we had a case once where someone died because please for yourself, your family, your loved ones, and the health, life, safety of everyone. If you're in an accident, as long as your car's drivable, pull it over to the side of the road where it's safe, as close as possible to the accident site, and never ever flee the scene of the incident if you're at fault, because that's a felony.
Now, right now we're in Chicago.
Mhm.
So now if somebody actually hit me, I wouldn't get out. I don't know if I'd stop because I don't know if it's a ruse to
Right.
get
So
my car.
no, you could stay in your car, and I would, call 911.
All right.
So you don't have to get out of the car, but you have to stay at the spot, call 911, have the police come.
Okay.
Absolutely do not put yourself in danger. And also anything you say can and will be used against you. So any statements you make to the person who struck you, or if you were at fault, anything you said to them could be used against you. I do not do defense law and I do not do traffic law, but if you're at fault, you're going to want to hire an attorney who does that law to help protect you and help, fight tickets and whatnot.
But the police now say a lot of them no longer come to traffic incidents.
If you're injured, but call them, and if they say they don't, then you'll drive to the police station, and that other car, somehow you're going to have to communicate. But if you're injured, they're going to come.
Okay.
So if you're not injured,
so if I got into a car accident, I believe I'm hurt, I do not want to get out the car, is there any way you can send someone to me? Is that about right?
Yep, you'd call the police and say,
Okay.
I'm injured.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're in an area that's unsafe and you're worried, you don't want to get into a car accident to have a bigger tragedy. That would be horrible.
Okay. If I hit someone's car and they sued me,
Mhm.
Is there any way, where is that put in my file? Is it in my driving file? Where is that where somebody could find out that I was
So that's traffic citations. Unless you killed someone or something, it's not criminal.
right?
And you'd want to hire a traffic attorney to help protect you, and
Can you
or at
remove
least-
that off? Can I remove that off my driving
So
background?
criminal things you can remove, but you can hire the attorney who does that kind of thing, and I think they do a motion to vacate. Whether or not they'd be able to do so is fact specific. Again, it's not my area of law, but there are attorneys who work to try to get these things off your record, or try to if you have a suspended license, they'll try to reduce it. But again, you have to call the attorney as soon as possible. There are deadlines with most things. I don't know them, not my area of law, but
Okay.
ASAP is always the rule of thumb when you're injured or you need an attorney.
Yeah.
Don't wait. It never is to your benefit.
What if someone that hit me did not have insurance at all?
Okay, so this is why it's so important. So important to have good insurance for yourself. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't have insurance, or they have minimum limits. And minimum limits in Illinois are $25,000 a person, $50,000 a collision. So that means
Liability insurance.
yes.
Right. Okay.
No matter how many people get injured, if someone has minimum limits, if it's one person, obviously all they can recover is $25,000. If it's 10 people, the max for all 10 is $50,000. Now, uninsured and underinsured motorist insurance is what you have, and you want to have as high coverage as you can afford. And there's really not a huge difference in coverage. These insurance companies, and if they only sell 25,000 minimum limits, it's not. It's definitely not an insurance company I would want to go to.
Okay.
But insurance companies, they want you to buy the lowest limit because the gamble for them is less. But it's not huge money to change it. So what I would do is, figure out what you can afford, and then ask them, how much is 50,000, 100,000? How much is it? 100,000, 300,000. How much is a million?
So what do you consider to have some good insurance? How much do you think?
I have a million. I didn't get it until I had children, because God forbid my husband or I were killed in a car accident.
Okay.
but it doesn't. I mean, it goes up every 6 months. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars, not thousands. Depending, again, everybody's different. I'm talking about my husband and I for our two vehicles. The difference maybe for the year. And I remember I did an article on this several years ago for a newspaper. The difference between the minimum coverage and the full coverage, I think, was, if I'm remembering correctly, like $400 every 6 months or $800 a year. But imagine that. You die, you're gone, your children, there's this $25,000, which might go to pay lien holders and bills off and stuff like that.
Okay.
Or there's this $1 million that costs you $800 more for the year. I mean, if you shouldn't get what you can't afford because, you can't put food in your children's mouth, but you should get the best coverage you can afford. And really, it's not a big difference. So, I would call the insurance and find out. I'd also, some insurance companies are better than others, and substandard companies.
Right. I needed the top 10. I think I sent you the questions of, can I have the top 10 insurance? At least the top 5.
It changes.
Can we pull out the notes?
It changes. I can give you some that right now are have low complaints compared to premiums. But the substandards, you don't want a company that if you're injured, or more likely if you injure someone else, is gonna stick you with this people's damages, because they can go after someone if there's not enough insurance. You want an insurance company that's going to fight to protect you.
So if the person that hit me doesn't have insurance, then I have to
go to your own. You go to your own uninsured motorist.
Okay, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, and you always have to report accidents to your own insurance right away. And
even if it's not my fault.
What if they don't have insurance? You have to make sure, and every policy is different, so you have to follow the policy. So I can't really say, but like hit and run, usually most policies say you have to report it within 24 hours or something like that to the police. It's very fact specific. It's a policy. Now, some things the courts have deemed against public policy, because the purpose of uninsured motorists is to put you in the same situation as if the person who hit you had insurance. But it's important to protect yourself, protect the policy, and get the attorney right away to make sure that's done.
So how come my deductible goes up if somebody hit me?
Because it's a claim. But I'm not sure, like with my insurance, mine doesn't count against me unless we're at fault.
Okay, so your deductibles is
but every insurance company is different.
Okay,
right.
Can I have my top 5 insurance companies?
I like USAA, but other good ones are Geico, Farmers, AmFam, Safeco, and State Farm.
Okay, you talk fast. State Farm.
Looking, so what you really should do is look at the Illinois Department of Insurance complaints, and you look at the ratio of complaints to premiums.
Okay.
And based on this, the winners were Geico, Farmers, AmFam, Safeco, and State Farm. But I know, dealing with insurance companies, which company is better this specific year, it changes.
I have State Farm. How are they?
For the most part, I settle things with them.
You gave a face. What does that mean?
I don't mind State Farm. I don't mind settling with them. They're not substandard.
Okay.
It's the substandard. I mean, no insurance company wants to give money. And, cases are what cases are. If you're not really that injured, which honestly, nobody wants to have the $1 million personal injury case. That's only good for the attorney. You do not want to be that injured. You want to have the small case where you get better, walk away, and you get some money for your pocket, but it's not a lot. The huge injury cases, honestly, truly, they're only good for the attorney.
Can I have the top worst insurance companies from the where? Where did you get this from? Illinois?
Illinois Department of, and I'm going to say, I don't want to.
No, but I need to know. Can I have the top 5? You didn't make it up. You got it from Illinois.
Right. But I'm going to direct people to look, and just remember, if a company only offers.
You want me to read it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Only offers $25,000 as their max, that's probably not the company to go through. But you can easily find this by looking at the Illinois Department of Insurance.
Illinois Department of Insurance. Can you
Yes.
give me at least one that was on that list that's bad, so my people will not go and get that insurance?
If somebody wanted to call me and talk about the insurance they have, and if they think it's a good one for them, I'd be happy to discuss it.
Give your phone number again. so they can call
773-501-7232. 773-501-7232. But it really is a good site to look at to see how insurance is. But honestly, there's lots of companies when they're only offering, or they're the ones like get insurance for cheap. Usually
it's cheap.
Usually it's cheap for a reason. I mean, could there be exception? There could be, but think about it. Logic.
Okay.
So,
well, thank you. We're going to be wrapping it up. So is there anything you would like to tell us in regards to what we need to do for workman's comp, personal injury?
Well, personal injury, I think we did the statute of limitations for workers' comp. Personal injury is usually
workers' comp is what, 3 years?
Generally 3 years
right.
from
If you're,
the date
if
of
you're
accident.
hurt at work, or if you're hurt, what if I'm out at the grocery store and I fall on my knee?
Okay, so generally, and I know this broadcast, by the way, everyone, we're only talking about Illinois law. Every state is different.
Okay.
So we are dealing with only Illinois law.
Law.
Generally speaking, Illinois has a 2-year statute of limitations, but there are exceptions and stuff to the rule. So again, please call right away. Protect your rights. I can't protect you. Another attorney can't protect you if you don't protect yourself.
Okay, so your job, personal job, 3 years, you have the right. If I'm at the grocery store, I hit something, I have 2 years to call.
Yes, but if you wait to call, like if someone calls me on the eve, I'm probably not taking the case. I mean, you want to come in as soon as possible.
Okay.
It's your burden to prove your case. You hire an attorney because we're going to work to help you prove the case. But someone who's injured, though, has to be invested to do what they need to do.
Okay.
Attorneys aren't magicians. We're only as good as our cases. We can spin facts and make them better. But, if somebody does nothing, doesn't get treatment, an attorney can't, commit fraud and make up fake facts.
Okay. So right now, take pictures of incident reports, make sure if you can get a witness, that would be great.
And please call me right away. Again, the longer you wait, the harder it is.
Can you give that phone number one more time before we get out of here?
773-501-7232.
And who do you work with?
I work with Sachs, Robinson, and Rinberg.
Where is that located?
That is 162 North Franklin, Suite 300. We are downtown, right next to Bocce Pizza.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone. If you guys have any questions and need a part 2 to this, just kind of, you can DM me, or you can actually put them in our live, and we will go back and we will answer all the questions. So thank you again for coming out to the Women of Wealth show on Fridays at 6. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Robinson.
It was fun.
It was fun. Give that number one more time just in case they need an attorney.
All right. Thank you, Shawana. 773-501-7232.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.